can't get the mandatory without them going to a jury. United States.
Okay, so hold on right there. So, okay, so what you're saying is, right, because I didn't even know that. You can teach me stuff I don't know, because it's not my language. You want a good word than this. So what you're saying is, basically, so is there a mandatory minimum? Because I know it's a lot of people right now who are sitting in federal prison due to a mandatory minimum. I had a mandatory minimum, you know? So if you're sitting in prison right now, say you might have been in there 5 years ago or 10 years or 20 years, how does that go if you have people who have been in prison for a long term of time? And if y'all want this, share this live. Share the live. If y'all know anybody that's incarcerated, share this live. If y'all trying to help anybody get out that's incarcerated, share this live. So how does that work when federal inmates are getting sentenced with mandatory minimums?
Okay. So let me clarify, because mandatory minimums affect almost 80% of people that incarcerated, whether it's a white collar crime or drug, because with drug crimes or either the Hobbs Act, there's a mandatory minimum somewhere with whether it's the 924C or whether it's the aggravated identity theft. They're all mandatory minimums. So what has happened is the last 10 years, there's been a number of cases that's gone through the United States Supreme Court. But the most significant thing and the most important thing that a lot of people that have family members, a husband, wife, children incarcerated is the First Step Act. The First Step Act reduced a lot of the mandatory minimums. It took away the stacking of the 924Cs. So in the First Step Act, there's also this section called the compassionate release. Now, back in the day, it used to extend only if you were terminal. You could file your administrative remedies, which everybody has administrative remedies, whether you're federal or state. Okay, and you can ask the warden to release you. Those always were denied. So what Trump did was he expanded it to anything that's extraordinary and compelling. So I know the next question is, what's considered extraordinary, compelling circumstances? Okay, well, the court has said anything that you can prove is extraordinary and compelling circumstances. It could be illness. Say you were diagnosed with cancer, COVID-19 still because of the pandemic. And I think that's going to always be extraordinary, compelling circumstances, because I don't think COVID is going anywhere. And it's just going to keep on mutating over and over. So what the court has also done in the last couple of months, and most of the appellate courts, except the 11th Circuit, have all said that you can include non-retroactive law. So why is that so important? Because you have people that have been in prison for the last 10 to 20 years that were sentenced and different laws were changed. However, they weren't made retro. Okay. So I was talking about United States versus Alene. That's a case. That's an old case. Okay. But it's significant because you still have people that were sentenced in 93, 95, 96. Okay. That didn't get access. What Alene did was, it's basically said, in order for a judge to sentence you over the statutory maximum, it has to go to a jury. Okay. Then you had United States versus Dean that came out in 2018. What that particular case said was that if you're sentenced with a mandatory minimum, such as the 924C, my case,
was the 924C the gun?
That's the gun charge. Okay. That's usually with a drug conspiracy or the Hobbs Act, a robbery. Okay. And then for my white collar crimes like mine's, which that's usually dealing with taxes or something like that, the PPP loans too. Sometimes people are charged with aggravated identity theft. That's a mandatory minimum.
And that's
with those particular cases, if you're charged with, just think of it back in when you took an English course, you had the sentence, you had the subject, and then you had the predicate, right? That's the way federal law is as well. So with each of those two offenses, the subject is your aggravated identity theft, but they have what you call a predicate offense, which in my case was theft of government money. So you would be sentenced for the aggravated identity theft, but you could also face a maximum of your predicate offense, okay? Which was the theft of government money, all right? And that could end up enhancing a person's sentence longer than what you would anticipate. So what United States versus Dean said is there's no interpretation of law that says that you have to do that. So what that did was courts start saying, okay, say for example, aggravated identity theft, 24 months plus a day. And then courts start doing the same for the 924C. So what the compassion release does, it opened the door. You can go back to court and say, hey, if I was sentenced today, I wouldn't be subjected to the mandatory minimum. Okay. I would actually qualify to be sentenced to, say, 5 years on the 924C and a day on the second offense. Okay. And the judges are saying, yes, absolutely. And then also what courts are saying is you can factor in the rehabilitation. So COVID, then the disparity, which is the change of sentencing, because a disparity sentences is nothing more than your sentence would change. It would be lower today than it was when you were initially sentenced. Those three things actually says now that's extraordinary compelling circumstances. And that's a reduction of your sentence. That's taking off a lot of life sentences off the table that were once there. That's where you see these people walking out.
So I got two questions. Okay.
Okay.
Understanding why you telling me this. Okay. So say for instance, I know somebody that had a life sentence, right?
Right.
They're sentenced for drugs and they had a gun. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Back in the day, they got a life sentence.
Okay.
Now, the compassionate release came through, and then Trump passed the thing for the retroactive, right?
Right.
They can actually file a motion at this moment to go back to court off of those grounds.
Yes. Correct? Yes.
So all these people who have life sentences now can actually go back. And I think that's the thing that people don't know, because even with my kid's dad, he's in prison, right?
Okay.
He's filing these motions, and he's trying to get his lawyer to file these motions, and the lawyer keep telling him like, oh, I'm filing the motions, but the lawyer not doing what they're supposed to do, right?
Right.
So that's where this thing comes through, where everybody that's watching this right now, if they have somebody that's in